to Make That Paper, the show where we talk about all the crazy jobs we do to make the cash we need to pursue our artistic dreams.
And for a fresh box of Sharpies to write quippy quotes on your strike placards.
That's right. This is the episode where we post up on the PA position, join the Itty Bitty Scripty Committee, and do a little rambling about gambling. We are your hosts, Jamie Parker Stickle.
And Jason Bieber.
And today we are ridiculously excited because we are joined by one of the most hilarious writers and human beings in the business.
Maybe on the planet. You've probably peed your pants laughing at his jokes on shows like
Yes. Yes.
And Rob Riggle's
Still peeing. And since we last saw him, he's had a baby, there's been a pandemic, and his career has blown up.
I'm pretty sure none of those things are related.
Maybe.
Pretty sure. Nonetheless, we are so excited to see our old friend and welcome him to the show. Please get crazy in podcast land and put your hands together for Bennett Weber.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
dog
our
is going.
newest rescue.
Where my web heads at? Thanks for tuning in.
Here's the thing about Bennett. Bennett came from Syracuse and just like, wait, was it Syracuse?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. You blew it up while your peers watched on in awe. Like, you didn't have to do that much.
I actually...
You were driving a caddy and they were still Ubering.
Yes, I did drive a Cadillac. That's true. But that was at my father's insistence. We drive Cadillacs in this family, even if we can't afford them. I remember he gave me a gift, which was a lease on a Cadillac that he wasn't paying. So he goes, here's a responsibility. Same guy gave me a dog. Like, here's a life you have to be in charge of now. These are gifts from me.
It made you super uber responsible.
He's very, I wouldn't.
No boat, but here's an anchor.
Right, exactly. Here's some debt. Great, love it.
But look how well you had to do in order to get out.
Exactly.
I know, that's what really pushed
excuse.
me was the need to keep the dog alive and the car paid for.
The dog is demanding.
It is.
How is Winnie doing?
Winnie is lovely. She's covered in fatty cysts, but couldn't be happier.
Polly is covered in cysts too. I'm always like, I need to take you to Pimple Popper, Dr. Pimple Popper.
That's right. And like you have this debate within yourself because they're benign, but they're gross.
Yeah,
so
they're
like
gross.
Because you're basically like, am I willing to put my dog under for surgery because I want her to look better? And like, am I that vain? And I'm just like, yeah, probably.
Probably.
It's LA.
If like the number one thing you get out of your dog is petting them and it's become gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they smell or ooze? The question is if they smell.
The same sensation as those like popping bubbles that you get in packing. And just like, it's not why I go to my dog.
And even with packing bubbles, if I can't pop them, I throw it away.
But let me back this up for 1 second. Because that's an important thing. Like, a lot of people out here have dogs and they can barely afford their rent, but they don't want to be lonely because LA can be a lonely city. So let's talk about this for a second. You had to hustle when you got out here. Was script supervisor or PA the first thing you did when you got out here? Because sometimes people script supervise and they suck at it and then they get demoted to PA.
No. And also script supervisor is different in every type of show.
That's right.
A very different animal on live television and pageants and dog shows and all the 100%. Stuff I did. You're basically the logistical manager of it's not a continuity thing because it's live. So there is continuity. Like it can't be like, we'll go back and do that again and make sure your pants match because it's live. Right. Your pants are going to match. So it's more just planning the logistics and the timing of the whole show. And it's a 3-person department that makes sure that you end on time and everybody knows exactly what they're doing. You're essentially the keeper of the information. And then when you get into scripted stuff, it's more continuity stuff. And actually you're in charge of a script and making sure you shoot all of it and remembering what you shot already because you're shooting it over the course of 2 or 3 days. So it's a different job for every type. And I did variety and live stuff. I never actually did a movie or sitcom or anything like that.
So you're saying you had the easy job?
No, I had the hard one where you have to have the whole show in your head.
You're herding cats and exactly. like live in front of an audience.
Sure. And dogs, literally once I did a couple dog shows.
Oh my God. How did
are-
you get that gig? Were you like, did you like arrive in LA and go, oh, there's an opening for script supervisor? I'm pretty
No,
anal.
it's my whole thing has been like red phone stuff where like you prove yourself to be, because that department is pretty logistical, and if you have a good brain for that, it's like who's the most fun to hang out with on top of being able to arrange this
Handle it.
information. So
Sure.
I got a lot of calls as being the least, probably to my detriment, concerned person that did that job. So like if it was an easier job and they needed a script supervisor, they would just call me. And like, so I would do a show, like I did an Animal Planet show that was like a documentary about how great spring was. We really blew the lid off that. And then the same guy who did that was doing a dog show, and he's like, do you want to come do this? And I'm like, I don't know anything about it, but sure, because it's all just figuring out the layout of the show and things like that. But
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but how the hell did such obviously different jobs get the same name?
Script
supervisor? Yeah, these are not the same job.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you are taking care of the content. It's just the content's being executed differently, so you have to do a different thing, I guess. I don't know.
Right. So
and also, just people are lazy.
Yeah.
People are lazy.
The top of the resume is script supervisor, and underneath is live shows, dogs included.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sure.
So did you start as a PA, and that's how they got to know you?
They were like, one PA job, but it was so bad that the script department's like, this guy it's like you're out of nom, and then you're like, okay, you're ready to be a hitman. You've been through enough shit, you can do whatever. So
you're moldable.
That's
Wait,
right.
so you weren't so bad at PAing, the job itself was so bad that you had to PA.
The job was so bad, and so many people got fired, and
you didn't.
And I didn't. And
how long was that? Were you there for a year? Were you there for a season? What are we talking?
It was a show. Speaking of Syracuse, I came out to LA and I went to an alumni event, and I met some people that were starting on this reality show called Married by America.
Oh God.
Producer of Joe Millionaire, to put a time.
Oh God.
Back when that was a brag. And it was shooting in Redondo Beach like 2 days after I was at that bar meeting that guy, and I ended up being a PA on that. And it was, I forget how many episodes, but it ended up being less than they thought it was going to be, because America wasn't excited about marrying people, or as excited as they wanted them to be. It was just a bunch of people that wanted to be on television, and then America would pick who
gets to get married.
Which pairing of them they would want to marry on television.
That's terrible.
And they get engaged very early. I think like Love is Blind, but without the blindness.
I love Love is Blind.
Show them argue for 3 or 4 episodes, and at the end they would either get married or not get married. And I can't even remember who got married and who didn't.
Tale as old as time.
Wait, was it a real marriage ceremony? So they had to go get it annulled afterwards?
Yeah, I would assume so. I didn't really care that much about their lives, but probably.
God.
America does not marry people lightly.
Yeah. It was but yeah, it was multiple episodes, and I was a PA, and I ended up being like the late night editing PA, and it was very funny because it was back in the Fox days where it was the guy who produced like The Swan, and the one where the little people pulled the jet, and like just reality shows that like nobody remembers, but like we were like American Idol had hit, so we're just gonna do reality forever and burn it out.
Right.
Was this?
And now there's a strike, so they're gonna keep doing reality forever and
we
burn it out until
we hadn't tapped into the real money being in rich people yelling at each other, which is what is where the real money is. But so it was one of his shows, and
where's he now? Is he still doing reality?
I'm sure he is.
Okay. Has he asked you to come back?
Probably. I mean, every weird thing on Fox, I assume some of the same team are involved in.
Let's get Bennett. He's on. Let's get Bennett to come back here and plug us, because he's on.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, used to be one of my favorite shows, so I'm so excited.
And it's your favorite show now.
It's my favorite show now, and
Absolutely,
I'm so excited that you guys did
my
this.
favorite podcast. That's your favorite show. Everybody knows everything. That's
honestly, I think like bringing back this style of comedy is so needed, and like we're slowly getting there. This is a comedy Gen X wants to see and old millennials. So keep going.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are watching it. Knock wood, which is good. But I got to see the process of a show that was supposed to be a big hit, because at the first day you have the lady who's making crepes and fajitas, and craft service is amazing. And then by the end, it's a Red Vines thing with peanut butter on the rim, because the editors don't have spoons to get the peanut butter, so they're eating peanut butter with their hands and then getting Red Vine. That was the evolution of that show, and that's how long it went. And like, but the script supervisor on that brought me said, "Can you get a computer and a passport?" I believe was her question, because the week after that one ended, I went to Panama and did Miss Universe as a script supervisor.
Oh my God.
Learning the job as I could. But if I didn't know what I was doing, it was fine, because no one there spoke English, so it was fine.
Stop. I was just going to say, they brought you in to do a Spanish-speaking show? How long have you been on Duolingo?
No. Miss Universe is in English. It's just in another country.
But yeah. Also, Duolingo didn't exist yet.
Yeah, I did do the Latin VMAs once, and that was in Spanish. But I figured it out.
I mean, I have 489 days on Duolingo, and I know more than I thought I did. I'm just going to say that. So let's talk about that for a second financially. We're on strike. We're on strike. The writers' union's on strike. Mm-hmm. Are you concerned? Do you have a backup plan? Is it reality television? Because you're a union writer. Like, what are you going to do? What's your plan, man?
If television never comes back, what am I going to do?
You're going to mow lawns, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just start charging people when I'm a podcast guest. I don't know.
No, that's smart.
I don't know. They're gonna. I have the utmost faith that it'll end at some point. It's just a question of how satisfying it'll be when it ends.
Right. Do you think the guild will crumble and it'll just be free enterprise?
I think the guild is amazing. They really know how to pay for it when you need your appendix removed, and
that's right.
Bad to say about the guild, and I know they're fighting hard for good reasons, and it's just a question of what the billionaires are willing to give up and how long we're willing to wait to see if the billionaires can humanize themselves.
You guys, I just got an email and
from Bezos. He heard what I said.
No. But the union employees or guild employees have put together a food bank for writers who aren't in a position where they had savings, who aren't in a position to pay rent, because the union is on strike, and they've been picking up, side hustle gigs, Ubering, things like that. But they've put together a food bank, and all you have to do is apply, and it takes 48 hours for them to review your case and your income, and then they will provide you with groceries or grocery gift cards. And all of that comes from other writers donating to the cause. Just FYI, I thought that was important.
A friend of mine held an auction to raise money. Another, the assistant to our showrunner got a grant of money from a Writers Guild cause to like keep her paid. And she's on the picket lines with us. A lot of people are working really hard to let the strike sustain itself while still letting people, live, have a living.
Yeah. It's interesting because cool. you look at like Teamsters. When Teamsters strike, they're always paying into a strike fund. Mm-hmm. So when they strike, they draw a paycheck, and it goes for quite a while. But neither writers nor actors guilds have that per se. It's kind of like when we
there are differences between unions and guilds. They're not created equal, but they're under the same branch or home of protection. Yeah, sorry.
I don't know. I got to rewatch The Irishman, but yeah, they're a little different. But no, but yeah, I would mainly just say, there's a lot of stuff out there. If I'm the one who needs to give this message, there's a lot of help out there for writers that aren't as lucky as me to, not that I'm prepared for this, but that I can handle this. And I think what we're doing is important, but it shouldn't be detrimental to anyone's life. So I think there's a lot of people out there.
A lot of our listeners are Midwesterners and East Coasters, and that aren't in the business. And so they don't have really an understanding of why we're striking.
What the fuck we're doing.
What the difference between a guild and a
You're
union
not going to ask me to explain the strike. I thought you wanted to hear about the time I worked on the dog show.
No, we're not going to ask anyone to explain the strike.
The dog show is what they think we're doing.
Oh, yes. I see.
Dog and pony show.
Well, speaking of the dog show, and just I know that like probably even before you joined the union, you were doing like other writing jobs just to support.
Yeah,
yourself,
and like
right?
the weirdest point in my life was I did script supervising for 4 or 5 years, and like.
Did we know you when you were script supervising? Did we meet you when you were still script supervising?
No, you probably met me in the part that I'm about to describe, which was where I did both. Because as a really low level non-union writer, like I made less doing that than I did script supervising.
Of course,
so I would go back and forth on shows, and the same people do both shows. So they'd try to figure out how they're supposed to be dealing with me, because writer me has a completely different vibe and is providing a completely different service than the person that has to, write the rundown and, figure out the staging of things. So that was probably the two sides part was, but doing script supervising, this is not the way anyone else does it. But just because like your listeners, I came from a real place where you needed to get a job right away.
Yeah.
I got a full-time, frequently, it was freestyle, but frequently full-time job as a script supervisor. And turns out, like, though not a lot of script supervisors want to be writers, that was a good way to meet writers. And then those were the writers who started hiring me. And then I would go up the ranks on their shows and then end up being the head writer of shows. And then, it was.
What was the head writing? What were the shows? Were they the live shows?
The first one was the. I've done. This will be the first year I don't do it because of the strike, but I've done like 16 of those.
The ESPYs is how you first connected with Rob Riggle, right?
Yes, he hosted. I think the 8th or 9th one I did, and then we fell in love and have been working ever since. We have a production company together. We don't do everything together. He was nice enough to get a hit show on ABC that I am not involved in, but we do a lot of stuff together, and he's the best. And you guys have come and acted with him a lot, and it's just he really lets you have a real clubhouse mentality where you bring in all your favorite people to make stuff, because that's how he started. And
it's a great environment to work on a set with. Both of you is a great environment, and warm and friendly, supportive and kind. And I think,
but most importantly, really stupid.
Really stupid. And if you have a better idea, please do it, because
I would say
I'm working on him. Been working on him for 15 years.
Way to interrupt my moment, Jason Bieber.
Yeah,
it was lovely. No, I meant stupid.
So the marriage is still going okay? You're in separate rooms, or
10 years
solutions.
You guys, 10-year anniversary tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah. This is we're going to call this our 10-year anniversary episode.
Well, happy. I'm glad to be the first one to say happy anniversary.
So you got the ESPYs, you met Rob, and that's when you transitioned into you guys started a production company, and you transitioned into working on his shows.
We did a segment on Fox for 9 years.
Yeah.
Nominated segment on Fox, and then we created a couple of shows. The one that was the most fun and the weirdest is the one you said, which was Rob Riggle's, which was one of the biggest hits in the history of everyone's favorite network.
Does have a huge following. I mean, to be honest, and I know so many writers who specifically target to pitch their work to, which I find super interesting.
They've since been sold, which is the problem. Trying to do another season is right after it got sold, or at least portions of it got sold to Chicken Soup for the Soul. as an entity, and I don't think if you've seen Rob Riggle's,
yeah, no,
it's entertaining, but it's not chicken soup for the soul kind of. It's more of a rich gumbo for the gut than anything else.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting.
It's in a weird place, but it's still on there. People want to watch. It was the weirdest show we ever did because we found out. I don't know how much I can say. The funniest parts I probably can't say. But it was a wild show. It was, if you watch it, we found out we couldn't go on the water that much, just because of where we shot. So every episode, they're rolling the jet skis towards the water, and then something has to happen. We have to write something that makes them not actually hit the water, which we were like, this is stupid. And then a week into writing it, we're like, ooh, this is stupid.
It's funny how location informed the show versus the show informing the location. That's amazing.
It was also, we were produced, thankfully, by the same people who did. So we shot there, though I don't remember them going on the water much. The water had become verboten. So it was the same kind of look, but we weren't able to go on the water that much and had to shoot all our lake stuff in like one day. So we, over the course of 8 episodes, we had to figure out what's worth actually getting on the water on our show about riding jet skis on the water.
Yeah. Okay.
We had a lot of fun on that. There's a lot of really funny people that we met and have since used in other stuff. Eliza Coop's in it. Billy Merritt's in it. Carl Tart. Allison.
Carl was on
the
show
too. Carl was on this season.
Did he not say that's how he made paper? That weird job he took to make some money?
He did. He explained it at length with a lot of like built-in apologies.
It was so funny because we were trying to figure out something for Carl to do, and in our character breakdown, we were like Swedish foreign exchange student, and we still hadn't found anything for Carl, and we're like, let's just have Carl do that. And it'd be weird. And he was great. It was funny.
Carl's amazing.
He invented a voice, and it was I was recommending him for but he had his own show. So maybe we'll get him on.
He's available now.
I know, because unfortunately that show is so good. That's a real bummer. But he's so talented and so funny.
He's so talented and so funny and so kind and humble and just such a normal
it's a real good break from Jason for you, because you're dealing with egomania and
But sorry,
big chip on my shoulder.
I mean,
it's heavy. It's a heavy load.
I was gonna go, but
you look like you're in an Apple ad.
Are you getting paid to house sit?
Our lease ended with our house needed to get some mold removed and some new windows, and it just seemed like, let's not get a new lease at this mold house.
We want to buy the one we're renting right now.
That's what we wanted in our previous one, pre-mold, but it was the house that the woman we were leasing it from grew up in, so it was a no-go. It was a little too romantic to just give it to me for money.
That's bizarre, because at some point
Did you consider offering her a lot of money?
Yeah, but then I remembered I didn't have it.
And that you're on strike. So it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. One thing a working writer, she's a showrunner on a couple streaming series, said to me years ago. She said, never buy a house with your first series as a writer, because you will not be able to afford it when that show ends.
I have a friend who referred to his old house as his sitcom house. Because he was an actor, he was a stand-up, and then he got a sitcom, and he immediately bought a house, and then 3 episodes later, he doesn't have that house anymore, because you never know. I am blessed with my own weird life in that I had a full career, not full, but a pretty successful career before I got my first sitcom. So I'm not saying, again, I'm not ready to overpay for someone's childhood home or anything, but it's nice to have done both, or to arrive at being one of the lower writers on a network sitcom, having been the head writer on some other things for about 11 years,
Yeah.
So that's nice.
I want to ask you, because like you were going back to when you were a fledgling writer, when you were and doing all these other jobs. How did you like, what were you working on? What were you trying to build at the same time as doing these jobs for money?
Yes.
Like, I know you wrote Ollie's Place.
Is your goal to be a union showrunner?
My goal was to do what I'm doing now, and like the fact that and it's that romanticism that Jamie talked about too. I love multi-camera sitcoms, and it bummed me out that for a while there were some good ones on, but they were the only ones that were on. So that they're coming back, or that success might bring some back, is very exciting. And like it, not to get sentimental, but like there's a weird parallel track on comedy writing, where writing jokes for late night shows and writing award shows and writing all these live variety events, and that's seen as very parallel to writing narrative or writing sitcom stuff. So when you go from one to the other, you can be at the top of the heap on one, and then you start at the beginning on the other, if you're even given that opportunity. Because there's a lot of people that, like, there are still, and rightfully so because they're good writers, there are still and writers in every writer's room, because it's just like they assume like only certain people know how to do sitcoms, and those people do them very well. And sometimes people won't take a flyer on a stand-up comic or someone who writes primarily on variety shows or sketch shows or something like that, because it's a different muscle, which it is, but a lot of people can do both. So this finally came to me. The showrunner is actually, was my roommate for 8 years, and like I knew him in college, and we've always wanted to write together again. Like, he got started in his sitcom stuff later than I was already making money doing other kind of writing stuff, and it just was hard to walk away from those opportunities. And like, he got that opportunity, and he went up that ladder, and he eventually created this really wonderful new version, and he was the showrunner. And they said, all right, we're going to not make you, but you're going to have to hire a lot of people that we know that were on a lot of stuff, but you can take 1 or 2 flyers. And like, I was one of the flyers on this one, and it was because we'd been wanting to do this for a while, and he hired me, and it meant a lot to me. And then
this is Dan, right?
This is Dan Rubin, and I owe him a lot. And it's a pretty, it was pretty frustrating that it took this long until it became this to be my first one, and then it became the exact perfect thing, and I couldn't be more excited. And, pretty great.
When you're an artist, a writer, an actor, the gamut, you put yourself into everything. It's not like going to a marketing job where you can let it go at the end of the day and go home and be the person that you want to be on your off hours, right? You've made a choice to have this job that makes a lot of money as a person in corporate America. Or what does he say in the a meritocracy? What does he say all the time? Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Bateman,
yeah.
It's not a meritocracy. Yeah.
No, I'm asking you what it is. Oh my God.
That's what he says. He says it's not a meritocracy.
Oh, right. So,
Who's this, Zaslav?
This is Zaslav.
Yes.
This is Jason Bateman on Smartless, our closest competitor, podcast-wise.
But as an artist, a writer, an actor, whatever, you're taking elements from your life and applying it to your work. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is something, when you've put yourself and exposed yourself in that way, fiction or not, that you can't just walk away from it. This is both life and career combined. So it does have a lot of sentimentality to it, It's not your childhood home. It's more than that. It's your existence at this point, right? So, it can be sentimental. And, when people do give us the break for the thing that we want to do, and we've been experiencing that lately, you've put all your dues, you've paid everything forward, you've worked your ass off, and it's at that cusp of like, what am I doing with my life, that someone goes, I know what you're doing. Here's an opportunity. And that floods you with emotion.
Mm-hmm.
because there's not a clear ladder to it like there is for a surgeon or a doctor or a lawyer or, again, an MBA. There is no clear path. It happens when it happens in the way that it happens. And you can be the hardest worker and the most talented person and never cut your break, right? Or catch your break, rather. But
one of the things, I was going to say, one of the things I actually wrestle with, I don't know if you've ever had this, but I often find myself looking back and going like, oh, that was my break. I just blew it.
Oh, Jason.
No, I don't. But that is sad. Is this where people start crying when Jason talks about his life?
Jason's in rare form. I don't know what kind of snark pill he took, but he's in rare form, and
well, I don't mean it snarky, and I don't mean it like as a sad thing, but like, many people. I've gone through a lot of my life. Go, oh, if I only had the breaks, and then I get a little further along. I look like, oh, those were breaks. I had breaks. Not every break broke my way.
Again, a lot of, I'm sure the side hustles you're talking about on your show, like anything that has been my other job since college has also been some version of a television job. And
a lot of people's. When you come out here, you find those gigs.
Yeah, and it's just, and like the thing, if anyone wants to learn from this podcast, is just meet people and collect the people that you think are talented, and always be your best version of yourself to people. And then like an ESPYs whatever 10 years ago with Drake was written by Bashir Salahuddin and Diallo Riddle, and then we work on a couple things and like we keep in touch because we become friends, and then they get to create this amazing sketch show and you become one of their early phone calls, and then you get to do something really iconic and fun like that because you met this person on a completely different kind of show, but you presented yourself well and you did your job well and you proved yourself a decent hang, and then it pays off later. I know Dan socially for over 20 years, but he's also just a guy I met in college, and that kind of relationship that started in my junior year of college taking a weird class together has led to this. So it's just all same with you guys. You guys worked on a short film that a friend of mine and I did together, and then I get to lucky enough to randomly call you to act in 10 or 12 bits for Rob Riggle and stuff like that. You just start collecting people.
We feel the same way.
Yeah, we feel the same way. And it's not
maybe luckier.
Yeah. And it's not just that. Like, you couldn't explain that without having lived it. But I'm trying for my students, which, by the way, I need you to come speak to them this semester.
Sure. If you've thought this went well, I'll do it again in front of them. It's all right. But and I don't know how young people are that listen to this, but like it's true because some people poo-poo like television and film, and as far as like a college career, and no one, you learn stuff, but no one like is impressed by your degree almost.
Right. Like, no. Yeah.
But I will say, like what you're saying, like. And what I said about my first job, I got it through an alumni meetup. Yep. So if you go to the right school that casts the wider net in the world you want to be in, that stuff can really pay off. And if you go to a school where you meet some people that will eventually make it out here and do, I have all kinds of friends that are like editors and are show running shows 100%. On Bravo, doing all different kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like that's the network. That's what college really helps you with. If you go to one that you can build that kind of network. It's not the piece of paper, though that's fun for your parents and everything, but like it's about people, guys.
And don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Be honest,
be nice. That's what I was saying even as a script supervisor. Like I was okay at it and other people were better. And I got a feeling that I got a couple more calls than people that would have been better because I was a better hang.
Yeah. I teach this all the time. I'm like, you guys, you could be the person that comes in with no experience but the best attitude, and I'm going to teach you everything on set that you need to know to do the job because I'd rather you than the guy who knows it but is a dick. Like, I don't want to work with dicks. People don't want to work with dicks.
And I got to the point with that job, not only because I was doing other things, but it was just like unfair to the productions because I was like, this could be going smoother with someone who was better at it, And there are people who do that job really well, and like their aspiration is to go from script supervisor, production supervisor to like AD or director, and which is more like following that logistical, put a show together path.
Yeah.
And like I would marvel at the people who were really good at that, and I'm glad that I left that to them.
Yeah.
It was just, and I was doing it because it was adjacent to what I wanted to do, and it paid better than being a PA. But like every job has someone that will be really good at it. And I'm glad that those people have that job more than I do now. But it was fun at the time. And again, it's another opportunity like college where like I met a bunch of people who made live television shows. And then I get moments now where like a show where I was the script supervisor for a year, I'm then requested by the host to come in and write for the host. And then they're like, isn't that the guy? I'm like, yeah, isn't it weird how that worked out? It's like, and believe me, I was bad at that. I'm good at that. You know what I mean?
It's a great opportunity.
Small world, and it's fun.
I think it's interesting that you had that work out for you, because so many people have on this show. We've heard a lot of stories of people who found that they were getting stuck in the adjacent career, that it was actually preventing them from being seen as what they wanted to do or what they were good at.
And again, it's also like there's a lot of writers, and like we're all very protective of like what we do and stuff like that, maybe wouldn't give the shot that I got. And then but you find the one who would, and like it was a guy named Greg Jennings, and it was on the ESPYs. And like one year I was the script supervisor, and the next year I was on the writing staff, because he just gave me a shot. And like that first shot is what you need, because if you're good at writing and people find out about it, you'll do pretty well. Like people will like want to take advantage of you.
So do you want to direct an episode that you're writing, or do you ever take a chance, because you're such a talented performer too, and you're so easy with words, and the camera going on does not affect Bennett. So do you ever write yourself a part? Like, I'm going to write myself a line into this episode, or I'm going to work. A lot of writers work towards directing an episode of the show they work on.
The structure of a multi-camera week is not really conducive to that, because I would have to leave the writer's room to go rehearse simultaneously with the writing of the episode. So, and people do it.
Yeah.
Like I am so into the writing that I would almost not want to leave the process of rewriting. I like to be involved in that. I do occasionally get excited when I'm helping to punch up scripts, or I'm writing the initial draft about the table read, because I know it's not a part where they'll fly someone in yet, or the person will be at the read. So I'm like, some weirdo in the jail cell. I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill this, and I'm going to see if I can get Larroquette to laugh or something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's more my meager goal at this point. But and also multicam wise, the directing is so is not the same as a single camera film. Like I think my aspiration one day might be to do more of that kind of narrative thing than a single camera thing, because or a multi-camera thing, because that's more like staging a play, and like you want to figure out a way where once it starts you're doing very little directing, which is a skill. And I'm amazed we've had some really great directors. I mean, Pam Fryman, who did so many great shows, did our pilot, and she was just how perfectly staged everything was, but I didn't see her do anything because it all happened while I was writing it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a whole different skill. And I assume it's like directing a play, but again, I'm in the writer's room trying to figure out, who's going to trip in a bucket. So I don't know. But
and I say like multicam from an actor's perspective is great. I love working on multicam because it is like a play. And
and it
is have
fun.
A good director.
We only have one day of pre-shoots where we shoot a couple things that would not be able to be shot in front of the audience. And those are great because we have great actors. It's across the board, great cast. But when we get them in front of the audience on Friday, though, it's a whole different thing. It's pretty electric and exciting. And
energy.
and that's another good reason for multicams to come back, because you're right. I think it's more fun for an actor who appreciates knowing exactly how well they're doing, because they'll tell
It's
them.
acting. I mean, for single cam, for film, it's hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. But a multicam in front of a live studio audience, you're just going, and it's great. I mean, I think it's
you get that thing, because it's not like we use the first take or anything. Like, we do multiple takes, but you also get the like, there's the thing where you're on the fourth take and you just don't want the audience to like think it's rote, so a writer will run in and give you like 3 new jokes, and then you get to have the experience all new again of a new reaction, or you get to see that joke bomb because they like the first one. But either way, it's exciting and electric.
Yeah. Do you like being the writer? So we had a showrunner on the show for a couple single cam dramas, and he was like, I do not want to be ever the writer on set. He's like, it's just not where I want to be. I send one of my other writers, but you sound like you would like to be the writer on the set.
Yeah, we're all there for live tape night, but yeah, on set and in rehearsals, I don't mind that, but that's mainly because that's every show before I did this. Like, that was where we figured it out, like on variety shows and sketch shows, you're there all the time listening to it, and so I wouldn't know how not to be that person. If I'm not pacing around while the script's being read, then I don't know what I'm bringing to the table. It's all about hearing it, and maybe it's changing the wording of the joke as it exists, or coming up with something different because you just like there's just no music to it, and you just need something better. But like, it's exciting to find that with people, be they actors, directors, and writers, and I like that. But I also get some people are better at a keyboard, and like, I'm okay, and I write a pretty good draft, but like, I've read better drafts where like, this is, we'll fix this because we have to, and notes are going to come because people feel they have to give notes. But like, this is like a perfect little thing where you planned out everything. And I'm like, my scripts tend to be a little more joke heavy, which means they're going to get cut down, and they're also going to be like easily interchangeable. We're like, we need this kind of joke here. We'll try the one here, and then we'll just keep switching it out and that kind of stuff. Like, they're not
the Bennett Weber back catalog.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, I know that. I mean, I remember just going way back to the beginning with you and working on Ollie's, and you were
Ollie's Place,
and you were constantly rewriting, like tweaking the material as you would give me adjustments to the text, and Ed would be like, I felt like you were maybe. Sometimes it was awkward because like, was that Ed's joke that you just rewrote?
I'm more like, let's see what would happen if we did this. Like, it's like controlled chaos. Like,
right.
Like, sometimes like a grand experiment
that isn't gonna work, but if it worked, it would be a miracle. So just like, we have the one that we know works and is easy. Let's try this really hard one. And then sometimes that leads to the actor looking at you like, that wasn't going to work and you left me out here. But like, if it did work, it would have been awesome,
Right. I just want to like ask one last thing before we let you go.
I can be here as long as you want. I'm just going to go pick it after.
Well, the thing, that's awesome. But the thing that I find interesting is that you could have chosen the path of being a script supervisor and had a successful career moving up. Like, you talked to us about becoming an AD, second AD, director. Like, you could have followed that path and, been well on your way in the middle of a very successful, financially fluid career in that regard. Instead, you did stick to writing. You started over in the sitcom world, or in the scripted world, or however we're calling it. So what in you made that choice? Was it your passion for writing?
It was, and like I'm very lucky. I mean, I had a little bug to be an actor as well when I was in high school, which has since gone away, and I now just prefer to be a 1 or 2 line ham. But I knew I had a pretty good idea what I wanted to do for a while. I went to school for it as much as you can, and even doing those jobs, they just felt like jobs and ways to be adjacent to what I wanted to do. And there is that thing, like, you know, and again, there are people that are better at it than I am, but I thought I would be good at it. And like, I knew I was just fine at script supervising, and I was doing the job to the best of my ability and getting away with it. But once I got into the stuff that I was really passionate about and what I always wanted to do, I think I can stand out as being particularly skilled at it. And like, that's important to me, that I feel like I'm contributing and bringing something that only I can. And like in that script supervising job, I wasn't. I was bringing less than someone else could. And I feel like now I'm doing uniquely, bringing myself and what I think I can bring to every project I'm doing. And like that kind of satisfaction, I think if you can find it in your job, is good. And that's why I hope this was inevitable, and I'm glad about how it's all worked out.
I think that's awesome. And I think that it says a lot that you stuck with people that noticed you. Like, you never had to skip around to a lot of jobs because you put in the effort, even if it was adjacent in a position, to get to the next thing that you actually wanted to do that was uniquely Bennett. And I think there's something to be said about that. And I think that it's great because a lot of people get very frustrated very quickly or have like a horrible experience, like maybe that first PA job you did, where it sends them in a totally different direction, into a totally different world. Instead of consistency, they're finding inconsistency and not actually building a resume or a name for themselves with anyone. You know, they feel untethered, so to speak, out here. So
one of the easiest things to do in the world is quit.
Oh, yeah.
So it just like, and I just, you know, I didn't do that. I wasn't into the prospect of doing that. So,
that's what I say to everybody. If you don't quit and leave in the first 5 years, then LA becomes the smallest city in the world. You end up knowing everybody, or you're one person away from everybody you need to know. We all know each other because we lasted past the 10-year mark, you know? And if you last past the 10-year mark, you're not leaving. Unless it's to go to like Atlanta or.
Yeah. They're making a lot of, Tyler Perry Studios is gorgeous. There's a White House though.
Yeah.
There's a what? A White Castle?
No, a White House. Because you got a show called The White House. And he built the White House. It's there. It's very impressive.
He built living quarters for people.
And we
were there for the whole Tyler Perry thing, by the way. We were just like, who's that guy? And now he's the biggest thing that could be.
Yeah.
And very good in Gone Girl, I might add.
Did I watch Gone Girl? I mean, I read it. I
didn't love Gone Girl.
Anyways.
There's something you said. No, keep it in. No one needs to know. Everyone needs to know that I did not.
That's fine.
Jamie didn't see.
I love Gone Girl, the book.
Sure. Yeah, he plays the lawyer. He's very good.
I don't know if I saw the movie.
He's wearing the Medea suit, so you don't recognize him.
He plays the wife.
There's something you said that is resonating with me, and I just want to come back to it.
Yeah.
You said that about finding the thing that, not doing the job that you can do but other people could do better, and rather finding the thing that you could be not just your unique self, but that you're the only one who can bring what you bring to that job, and it's of value and worth. And I think that with so many creative jobs, and frankly, especially acting, so many of us see it. We see it on screen and we go, I could do that. And sure, we can. And I'm talking, this is a very personal story. I saw that and said I could do that. But when I started to do it, realized like, oh, while I can, do these steps and hit my mark and do all these things, it took a very long time to figure out what I had to offer to it that was not just, not as good as what other people could do. And I think that, your voice as a writer, I've heard it from the very first time I've read your work.
Yeah. It's
is
special.
so clear.
Yeah.
And you have such a distinct style of humor, and that
100%.
It's great. Your jokes do plug and play into other people's stuff, and that's very handy. And,
but like
and gets you a lot of work.
hear Bennett in a show, and you go and look at the IMDb, and you're like, oh, that was Bennett, and then you go look at his social, like, is he promoted this? Because
there's such a thing as a Bennett Weber joke.
You know, it's like you'll hear
Yeah.
casting or producers say, we need a Tyler Perry type, you know, and then they'll start listing out actors that are Tyler Perry
Jason
types.
Bieber.
I think that the now forward, or maybe a couple of years ago, they started going, oh, we need a Bennett Weber joke teller, and they're like, Bennett, are you free? Like, that's what's happening.
See if we can make his deal.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
And you know what ends up happening, like, and again, not that it's not being the best, it's about finding the job that you can bring the most to, I would say. But it's
totally,
if you're busy, but if you like meet me or meet that person, and then if they're busy, they'll say, have you thought about this person, because I can't do it.
Yeah,
you know, because that's the other thing, like collect people is the best way to make it.
And give when no one's in the room. Be a good citizen. Be a good literary citizen. Be a good actoring citizen. Be a good writer citizen. Like, bring other people's name into the room with you. You know, like that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Like, speak up. Yeah, for others. I just want to say, like, I miss you, and this was such a great episode. And like, was it like, did we have the dirtiest jokes or like the most salacious things happening in your adjacent jobs? No, but like, I think that's okay, because we need to know that there is a path sometimes that is a little bit cleaner and clearer, and like, that does exist for people, and it can exist for you too, and for all my students that listen. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I went a weirdly, you know, again, it's, you know, you're from Michigan, you're from a real place. Like, you have that mentality of get a job.
Get a job.
No one's going to pay your rent. I want to work in television. I'll get a job in television. And then, you know, that's what started everything, you know. It's not sexy, I guess, but.
but there's one sexy thing you did do, and you actually made some money at it.
What's that?
We never mentioned it.
What?
Which one?
You played poker.
Oh, I did play, but I played a lot. I played too much poker in my 20s. But that was during the poker boom where we all thought we were going to be millionaires.
Yes.
That poker boom.
I'm glad that I don't do that anymore.
You're married with a kid now.
But
yeah, it's hard to like know that you're responsible for sending someone to college and go play poker.
Well, your kid is the poker game now. It's the gamble.
It feels better when you walk away with someone else's kid's college money.
That's true. But I haven't sat at a table with 4 strangers in sunglasses in a long time, and I think that's probably better for me.
I was never very good at it. We played a couple of times, so you know that.
I do, yes.
But at the very beginning of the pandemic, I went to Las Vegas and I played in a tournament and I won, and I was very excited about that. And then the whole world shut down, and I haven't done it since.
Oh yeah, because that was going to be your career. It was the kickoff for you. You bought a.
I was pivoting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've gone with I went with a friend of mine, and like, he didn't understand when you play poker, you don't play every hand. He didn't know. It's like, but it's a game. So he just put all his money in on every hand, because it's like, it's not hungry hippos where if you like do anything, you're not going to get any balls. Like, you know. So he would go broke in 20 minutes and sit there and have to watch me, you know, play with strangers.
But I had fun with you, so thanks for bringing me along.
I'm not talking about you. You were bad in a different way.
Thank you so much for taking the time and being here, and we hope we can see you again. Maybe the families can get together and do lunch or dinner or something.
Let's do that.
That would be nice.
This
and we can even get our dogs together, and they can go nuts.
That's right. I hope it was helpful for your cause and your show. I had a lot of fun, and sorry I wasn't funnier.
Made love on Tuesday, on Wednesday she was down. We fought on Thursday, made up on Friday, but now I'm This ain't no savings and loan.